YouTube, Awesome Rider here. This is going to be my quick lore check-in video for the Ranger Academy series. As I mentioned in my last review, I'm going to be doing a more overall series review once this issue, or once this comic wraps. But I'm going to be doing kind of lore check-ins because most of my videos, or my reviews for it, largely amount to me saying like, oh, the interpersonal stuff is fine, it would make a good animated show, and then talking about whatever lore reveals we got. So instead, I'm just talking about the lore reveals and what it means for the story and the Power Rangers universe and multiverse. And then, like I said, I will eventually cover the whole series and review it as like a score thing and all that. So, we had a couple interesting things happen in this issue. First of all, we finally had the first full morph that I recall, which is Lula finally transforming into the Red Ranger costume. We've seen the costumes a bunch, and obviously we had our main character transform into green when her ceremony happened last week. But in terms of like what felt like the first formal morph, we finally got it after seeing it, and they were in this kind of danger room holodeck situation, which is kind of cool. Like, there's a lot of concepts that are clearly borrowed and inspired by other mediums, but I don't mind. It's this, you know, holodeck where you can summon up a villain or scenario to test yourself. Of course, they immediately go for an mmpr thing. We get to see her transform, and I do like the suits. I honestly really do. I think they're overall pretty solid. Not the most spectacular thing we've ever seen, but I do think they're pretty cool and sleek looking, and have this kind of look where they don't necessarily feel like a prototype or something, but they do have that kind of student feel while also feeling like a complete design. One thing that was weird, though, in one of the panels during the fight is her lips moved, like the metal lips on the helmet, which is really strange to see. I mean, in general, as a fan, I've gotten used to the metal lips over the years. It's kind of this weird thing where sometimes when it comes to Toku designs, I feel like I sit on this fence where I can simultaneously see the good and the bad at the same time. In terms of a lot of things, like with roll calls and stuff, I'm simultaneously like, oh cool, the roll call, and also I'm like, why are they doing that? It's so stupid. It's the same thing with the designs. Like, there are actually quite a few suits that are my favorites of all time that have the lips on it, because I've gotten used to it. But then when I use the other side of my brain, I'm like, that's creepy, man. You look like you're about to kidnap someone on Purge Night. It's extra weird to see the lips moving. It is weird, though, too, because it kind of uses the same logic of Spider-Man's eyes moving and Deadpool's eyes moving. Although now in live action, we've actually started to do that. And like in Spider-Man, it's kind of explained by these visors that give focus or whatever, which actually I think is really cool. But it is weird to see that principle applied, that cartoony like principle applied to the lips. I don't like it. We do get that on the superficial kind of lore note. Now, in terms of the bigger story and lore, there's this moment where one of the professors is giving the students these little, effectively mini Zordon Tubes, which will allow them to communicate with any Ranger, past, present, or future, to help mentor them, just like they have the tubes in the main academy that allow them to do that on like a teaching scale, which is one of my favorite things. I think that's one of the coolest ideas. I'm really so curious if we're ever going to get answers about how and why this was established and when, because the idea of this Ranger Academy training new Rangers and being able to sort of cross time to get help is really quite interesting. I actually really like that. And I believe there was something mentioned in this issue also about that some people that study at the Academy don't wind up becoming Rangers or choose not to, which I think answers sort of some of the questions about people were concerned, like, how could they do a whole Ranger Academy? That's having too many Rangers out there. But I don't think it's quite as cut and dry as like every single student comes out as a full-time Ranger. I was never bothered by that, but I thought it was something interesting that was brought up. But Sage's tube that she goes to communicate with winds up contacting her father, and she's like, what? Why is this happening? Dad's not a Ranger. I'm like, could you not put two and two together? He went to the Ranger Academy, and this little thing is supposed to contact a past, present, or future Ranger, and then it contacts your dad. I mean, it's possible there's some sort of glitch or something weird going on with Sage's connection or something, but I feel like even if he's not a former Ranger based on his time at the Ranger Academy, use some basic human intelligence there, girl. Like, for real. How could it contact him? He's not a Ranger. He went to the Ranger Academy. If he had gone to culinary school, I get it. Like, okay, this thing's broken. That clearly sets up more, in my opinion, mystery about he was probably a Ranger at one point to some degree or another. Maybe he's an active Ranger now and moonlights. I don't know. Also, they hint at the idea that Sage is actually adopted, which is interesting. I never thought about that before. I honestly assumed maybe something going on with her dad and his past as a Ranger was going to have to do with her, which I'm sure it does, but I mean, more connecting them is like maybe there was something about them and the Green Rangers and that before he was a Green Ranger or something, but now it's hinting she might be adopted. And that is, again, probably my biggest question. I mean, overall, I would love to have the answers about, like, the Academy and how this was all set up and, like, when in time it takes place. But it's the whole, like, Green Rangers are evil thing. Because, again, they say, we're in contact with Rangers from the past, present, or future, which means they're in contact, presumably, with other Green Rangers, and the lion's share of Green Rangers are just normal main team members. Like, there's, like, 2 or 3 evil Green Rangers. I think only the only ones I can think of is obviously Tommy, the one that became Psycho Green, and then you could technically count when the Elephant Spirit Ranger was evil. So I don't know. That'll be interesting. I still am enjoying the series for what it is. It's not my favorite, but I'm definitely always interested to check out the lore. But let me know what you guys think of the latest developments in the comments. As always, until next time, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and climb the steps and ring that bell to get notifications for my videos. Dawson Ryder, signing out.